the tack that we're taking is to provide business education to athletes because what happens to them is they're spending all the time on the sport, developing the sport, traveling with the sport. Most of them don't really get much of an education while they're in college because they're busy with sports and they're hoping to make it and essentially 2% go pro.
Hello there and welcome to the My Future Business Show. I hope you're doing really well. Look, I'm very excited today because I have a guest with us that is going to really open your eyes up to the importance of giving up and coming talent opportunities in business. And with that being said, on today's show, I have the pleasure of welcoming the CEO of the World's Best Connectors, Denise Meridith. Welcome back to the show, Denise.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yes, absolutely. Great to have you here. Now, you and I, we're not only going to be talking about the World's Best Connectors, we're also going to be talking about your latest venture called Project NILO, which is designed to create new generations of talented business leaders by ensuring that each student athlete participating in the program graduates with their own business. But that's certainly a lot to unpack for people who are on the show today. But tell us where you're calling in from today, Denise.
Oh, I'm calling in from Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh, beautiful. Now, you and I were just talking about, the weather, I guess you could say that's over there. What attracted you to the place?
Oh, Phoenix, it's beautiful. It's Sonoran Desert. I like dry heat as
Yes,
opposed to,
wet,
um,
humid heat.
Miami, DC, things like that.
Yeah.
So, but it's beautiful. Saguaro cactus and Palo Verde trees. It's a pretty spectacular landscape. Red Rock area is pretty close to Phoenix here,
Yes,
Sedona.
absolutely. Yeah.
So it's great. And no rain. I don't
And
like
no
rain.
rain. Yeah, well, occasionally, not very often. But what do you enjoy doing the most when you're not doing something over there?
Believe it or not, probably movies. I,
Movies?
I like movies. I like reading. I like writing. And so that's really what I enjoy doing, which is good because air conditioned. And and also here, all our sports are air conditioned as well. So I get to go to football games and air conditioned, baseball games and air conditioning.
Of course.
So
And who doesn't want to be comfortable doing those things? Now, tell me, what do you
yeah.
like writing about, Denise?
Well, I business, believe it or not, and not so much business, but business people. So I've written about 1,000 articles about business people in
Yes,
my life.
wow. Are you writing at the moment?
Yeah, I am. I belong to an organization called Financial Policy Council. So he's really big on blogs. So I should have a blog coming out on Monday from that
Fantastic.
organization.
That's great news. Look, wonderful feedback, Denise. Now, I'm really looking forward to talking about today's topics, World's Best Connectors and Project NILO. But before we do that, I always give some bit of a background to the audience. And I guess the show has been growing, so a lot's changed, a lot of new listeners. I'm wondering if you could, I guess, just recap for us. Where was it that you grew up, or have you lived in Phoenix your whole life?
No, Brooklyn girl. I was
Brooklyn
born in
girl.
Canarsie in Brooklyn, so Brooklynites know where that is. But so I grew up in New York City, which was a fantastic place to grow up when I did. All the culture, things to do. It's a pretty exciting place to grow up. My dad was a musician, and my mom really liked Broadway, so we spent a lot of time in theaters when I was
Yes.
growing up. So it was a lot of fun. But I went to school upstate in Cornell, I say upstate here,
Mhm.
upstate New York, in Cornell University. Wanted to be a vet, but it was sort of the bad old days. They really weren't letting women be vets.
Yep.
So I went into wildlife biology instead, and they didn't have any women, but they didn't say they didn't want any. So that made a big difference there. And so I got a degree in wildlife biology from Cornell. And 2 weeks later, I was living in the desert, different desert. I was living in Las Vegas, Nevada, working on wildlife biology.
Well, there you
So
go.
that's how I started. And I was the first woman that agency had ever hired, the Bureau of Land Management, which is pretty interesting. So it was pretty much 5,000 cowboys and me.
Oh, well, you just mentioned your father a little earlier on. I always love to get a bit of a picture about my guests. So I'm wondering if you can talk to me about, I guess, the influence of maybe your parents and those who are around you. Did you have anybody like that in your life growing up?
Yeah, that's what I tell people. Your first mentors, if you're lucky, are your parents. And so, as I mentioned, my dad, he was pretty much a Renaissance man. I mentioned he was a musician. He
Yep.
was also a writer, a photographer. He was a conductor at one time. He was a veteran in the Army. So he
Wow.
did a little everything. And he traveled around the world with the Army because he played in a band. So, the Army band. So he traveled around the world entertaining troops. So that wanderlust, I guess, is still in me. I've
Yes.
lived in like all over the United States. And then my mom was the community organizer. So she was, school, church, whatever. She was in charge of doing things. She also worked for the government, federal government. So I had that kind of influence. What you see is what happened when you put those
What
two
you get.
together.
Yeah, great feedback. Thank you very much. Now, you obviously have taken a fair few values away from your experience with your parents. Were there anybody else external to your, I guess, your family group that had an impact on your life?
Oh, sure. You have so many different mentors in life. And so what it's taught me is to never make assumptions about people.
Yeah.
So uh, for example, I actually, when I found out I couldn't be a vet because I was a woman, I was taken in by a wildlife biologist, Dr. Daniel Thompson there at Cornell, and he led me through that program, got a degree there. I wound up in Las Vegas, and I had to share a room there with a person who was 55 years old, which when you're 20
Yes.
seems like the end of the world. And he was conservative politically. He was a botanist. Everything you could name would not put us together.
Yes.
And yet,
Wow.
we hit it off. He showed me how to chill your Coke in the stream, how to drive four-wheel drive trucks, et cetera, et cetera. So all along the way throughout my life, I've had really different sorts of people that you wouldn't necessarily expect come along and really make a difference in your life. So I tell people to be open to mentorship because
Yes,
it's
that's
important.
great. Thank you so very much for your feedback, Denise. Now, tell me, you touched on a couple of times thus far, I guess, the limitations that at least were in place for women, I guess, back
Hmm.
in the day, let's call it.
Right.
What's
Hmm.
changed for the better, do you think?
Well, if you're looking at veterinary medicine, now it's almost all women.
Yes, it's a stark
Went from one,
change.
went from one extreme to the other. So that's something that's changed. But unfortunately, there's still a lot going on. I gave one of my more famous speeches is hurdles, women must hurdle. And I could give that speech today because you're still running into people think you don't belong here or you're not as qualified as other people. A lot
Mm,
of the same hurdles exist, but I'm very optimistic. Things are changing. Younger people, for instance, have pretty different ideas.
yes,
And I tell people I went to school during the revolution of this, early 70s, but really the younger people now are the ones that are really making changes. And so it's pretty optimistic about the future.
great feedback. Thanks again. Now, your father was a musician, and did he have an influence on the type of music that you enjoy? What music do you enjoy?
Yeah, what it did, and I was thinking about that the other day, it gave me such a broad appreciation for music. So he was like big band era. So grew up with all that kind of music, Cole
Love it.
Porter and Gershwin and whatever. And then and he also liked, of course, to play classical music. And then my sister was 10 years older than me. So I got to experience Elvis Presley
Yes,
and
magic.
all of that type of thing. And then I was around the Beatles and Rolling Stones and whatever. So I think the music has always been there, even though I didn't really get to play much. I learned to play piano, learned to play guitar, but it's always been a major part of my life, and it primarily due to him.
Yes, that's great. Thank you again. Now, tell me, when was the first time that you decided that business was for you? Were you naturally eased into it? Have you always been an entrepreneur? Did you used to be an employee? Tell us a little bit about the backstory.
I guess I discovered it going with the Bureau of Land Management, starting at such a young age, working for them, because the Bureau of Land Management in the United States is one of the few agencies that makes money. It does, it has cattle leasing, it's a mineral and oil and gas leasing, rents out recreation spaces and RV parks, et cetera, et cetera. So, and you had to deal with so many different people in the community. It was
Hmm.
very interspersed
Yep.
with cities and country, rural areas, or whatever. So I had to make money
Of course.
and a government agency, which is really unusual because people don't think about that. But the Bureau of Land Management was like the second or third largest money-making operation in government, right behind IRS. So we're behind the Internal Revenue Service. So we had, so I learned really early on how to wheel and deal and negotiate. And well, most importantly, community development became very important because we were helping other communities develop themselves through land, through
Yep.
land
Yep.
uses. And so that's really where it started. So I became very skilled at those contracting, all of those types of things, sales. And it was fun. It
It
was
was
fun.
fun. Yeah. Well, look, you've certainly made ways in this respect, and you've got a wonderful team that I'd love to talk about in a little while. But
Sure.
knowing that you're so busy and knowing that we have a lot of, I guess, startup entrepreneurs, those who don't have as much experience and don't really know what to look out for, what would you
Mhm.
say to them? Would you say that it's important for you to have downtime, and how important is that for you?
Yeah, I think the main thing I tell people is always be open to learning.
Yep.
Yeah, to this day, even though I'm a mentor, of course, interesting, I didn't have any female mentors since I was the first one, right? And or African American mentors. Um, but now there are many diverse people that you
Hmm.
can get to
Hmm.
meet. And
Yep.
so I think it's really important to be open to suggestion from anybody you can get information from. And so learning is, so I'm constantly learning. The pandemic did not have as negative an impact on me. It did a lot of
A lot
people,
of people.
obviously,
Yeah.
right? It was horrible, but what I would do is watch 3 or 4 webinars a day.
Hmm. Hmm.
I learned so much about so many different things. Some of them useless.
There's plenty of that.
There was a lot of useless stuff, but in general, I just learned a lot, and I'm trying to put that to use. I guess purpose now in life is to pass that information on to other people.
Yes. Thank you very much for, I guess, framing it that way in terms of mentorship, because there certainly are a lot of people who listen into this show taking a lot of value away from what you're sharing, Denise. Thank you again. Now, tell us, there's two sides to this coin, and I'd love for you to
Mhm.
explain it so that we're very clear on this. When we
Okay.
opened up, we talked about World's Best Connectors, but also Project NILO. Let's start
Right.
with the World's Best Connectors. What is that
Uh,
about, and how did that come about?
Okay. I retired early from the government because I started so early,
Yep,
two,
yep.
2 weeks out of college. So I got to retire very, very early. And I had Denise Meredith Consultants, which was me pretty much. And so that's a lot of the writing, a lot of the being a newspaper reporter, um, a lot of helping on big projects like the football stadium here. I worked on getting that approved, government lobbying, all kinds of things like that
Mm.
um, happened. And so I was did that for 20 some years. Have had that company, but I guess about 5 years ago, I thought if I can get all this done by myself, why don't I try to have a team?
Why not? Why
Why
not?
don't I try to work with a team? So, and there are good points and bad points to that, but it's been mainly good points. So I'm very lucky. I'm blessed at this point in my life to work with who I want to, when I want to, how I want to, and can pick the best at
Of
this point.
course.
So, World's Best Connectors is that there are people like me. It's funny being in government. I figured it out one time that I'd been to 19,000 meetings. so,
Whoa.
meeting in general is not my favorite thing to
I can
do.
imagine.
Okay. But so what I did is attract other people who also weren't
Enjoyed
that big of
meetings.
meetings. So what we do, we have small meetings, small get to, I don't mind meetings if it's very purposeful, you know what you want to do.
Yes.
So
Yes.
um, you won't necessarily see world's best connectors people at a lot of these luncheons or
Yep.
banquet dinners. They're busy. They're busy doing. They like to
Doing
do.
stuff.
They like to do. So so I got a lot of type A's. You always need a few C's, type B's and
Bit of a
C's and D's
mix.
there, but but most of them are type A's. So what we do is different projects. Somebody will bring up something and people jump on it or not. So we've had a whole variety of projects going on. But what we try to do is help other executives get their jobs done.
Right.
So maybe in a consulting role. So that I started out in 2019, which was a very good year. We did really well, and then
Mm.
bingo.
And here you are.
The next year was COVID
Yeah.
and pandemic. But
Pandemic. There you go.
yeah, but we still were able to do in that 2 years of the pandemic about a dozen webinars on different subjects. And I like to pick subjects that I think people don't get enough education on or talk about. So
Yep.
we did it on succession. We did it on family businesses, running family businesses. We did it on sustainability, which everybody talks about, but nobody really knows what
No,
it
it
is.
does.
And so it was, so we actually, I felt, got a lot done.
Yep.
Make a lot of money doing that, but we got to a lot of people, got a lot of good information to a lot of people. So that's been going on. And this latest project,
Yes.
NILO, came up. One thing that I've done all along, I talk about writing all along, I've also done kids programs all along. I had a youth sports nonprofit for 12 to 18-year-olds, try to get them to stay in school, student athletes, try to get them to stay
Yep.
in school, lead healthy lifestyles, and be financially responsible. I taught at university levels. I taught 10 years at Cornell online. I taught 5 years with ASU live classes. So kids have always been on my mind,
Yeah.
and education has always been a part of my life. So when the NCAA, which is a huge organizational structure here that governs college sports,
Mm.
all along they'd said you can't give kids money for playing a sport in college. It has to be amateur hour forever. And
Mm.
so it's always been controversial, obviously, because the colleges make a lot of money.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
Coaches make a lot of money. Everybody made money except the kids. So in 2021, 21, they were talking about it. And then boom, all of a sudden they said, okay, you can make money now as a student athlete. But there were no real policies, no real
No
regulation.
guidance.
It was just like throwing the meat in the middle of the room
Yes. Yes.
and everybody pounced. So it's been a lot of activity, a lot of ruckus, a lot of things going on. But what it struck me right away was I don't hear people talking about the kids. I hear people competing to get students. Who's going to pay the most money? Is this going to be
Oh,
the end? Is this going to be the end of sports as we know it? I mean, there was a lot
yeah.
of angst going on, but still, I didn't hear angst about the
Where are the
students.
kids? What are you doing with their money? How are they getting involved?
Exactly. So, the approach I decided to take to NIL is what it's called, name, image, and likeness is what these programs are called, that allow kids to get paid. What I decided to do is, because, and to me, yes, it's great that they're getting paid, but if they don't know what to do with the money,
Yeah, it's dangerous.
yes, it's the statistics are awful, and most people have heard the statistics, but it's something like 68 or 70% of NFL athletes go broke within 3 years. That's incredible. Okay.
Wow.
Um, and basketball is not much better. It takes them longer. It may
Yeah.
take them 5 or 7 years to go broke, but
But you hear that
you think,
very often, don't you? It's
yeah,
commonplace, unfortunately.
yeah, it is. It's more common than not. That's the sad part. It's the majority.
Yeah.
Go down that way. So, yeah, yes, some kids make more money now. And then that's the other thing. NIL has not really been very universal. It's aimed at where's the most money is in football,
Mm.
right? So most
Mm.
of the action is in football, a little bit in basketball, and they throw in a woman here and there, but it's not really
It's quite
benefited.
disjointed.
Yeah, it's not really benefited all at student athletes.
Yeah, yeah.
It's benefited some of them, and the latest statistics show something like the average take, if you could call it that, from
Mm.
NIL has been $3,400.
Oh, goodness.
Okay, okay. So it's not what people envision. Yes, LeBron's son got 7.5 million. That's one person. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying? It's
Yes, I
one
do.
person. So what the tack that we're taking, and most of the people from WBC jumped on this one, so I have some great people working on it, uh, is to provide business education to athletes. Because what happens to them is they're spending all the time on the sport, developing the sport, traveling with the sport, whatever. They really, most of them don't really get much of an education while they're in college because they're busy with sports. That's
Of
what
course. Yeah.
now, and they're hoping to make it, and essentially 2% go pro of NCAA
It's not
athletes
much, is it?
go pro. So that leaves a lot, 98%, right? So what our program is, one, is open to all athletes, men, women, Paralympic athletes, so, students with disabilities,
Hmm.
um, LGBTQIA students. It's open
Yep.
to everybody. So
Yep.
that's a start. And then it's also, we involve the parents, which is another
Well,
missing piece that you don't really
yeah, I was
hear
going to
about.
ask you about that. What was their part in all of this?
Yeah, we're going to have some classes for them as well. Some of the classes they'll be in with the students, and I'll come back to how the classes are set up. I'll be in with the students, but parents should be a big influence on it. Sometimes they are in a positive way. Obviously, they've sacrificed a lot to get the kids to this point,
Hmm.
but lots of time they don't know any more than the kids do about handling money.
Yeah.
Okay, especially large amounts of money when you become pro. So we will have some education for parents as well. So the way we have it structured is the first part will be virtual classes, so the kids can be in any school. Um, and it's like a 90-minute class once a month. And
Right.
we'll talk to them about how to set up your LLC or your foundation, whatever it is you're thinking about, how to brand yourself in an effective manner, use social media, how to write a business plan. And a lot of adults need to learn that as well. but how to write a business plan, how to present a business plan. We'll just take them through all the steps. And like I said, some of those classes, like who you should have in a team around you,
Yep.
obviously that should involve the parents in that class, the lawyer, agent. How do you find honest people in that realm? So
Yep.
try to work on that because that's how a lot of athletes lose their money, trusting the wrong people with their money. And so then after that, they'll have a live experience, work study type experience, working with a business,
Hmm.
or if they want to work with a government agency, whatever, we'll get them an apprenticeship, so to speak, or really an internship of some sort. And at the end of that, they will have a piece of paper that
Says they've
says
done it.
this is their LLC, or this is their foundation, this is their
That's
creation.
incredible. There's
So
just so many questions that can arise from this, and a couple of them that came to mind was, are they typically focusing on becoming, I guess, sole proprietors, small business owners, and that sort
you,
of thing?
you're going to have the gamut.
Mm.
You're going to have the gamut. I think the athletes that go in there thinking they're going to be Michael Jordan or something and won't have to work. But
Well, let's hope.
yeah, but that doesn't happen, right? So our whole thing is whether they go pro or not, they'll still have a business.
Yes.
They'll need that. But essentially, it's just people not knowing how to just deal with it, so to speak. And now you have the whole addition of younger people not communicating.
Imagine
Okay,
that.
like not like yeah, radio. What's that? you know, so there's so much packed in there that we have to work with, and we have a limited amount of time, obviously. But ours will be sort of introductory types of things, but we'll give them the resources, the references that they need to get further information.
Yeah, that's great. Well,
So,
look,
but, but
it's
like we
nice
said,
knowing that you guys are there. That's for sure and certain. Can I ask another question, Denise,
sure,
in
oh,
terms
definitely.
of the way that I guess the actual money would be managed for a student. Do you have an involvement with that? Because I certainly know that you have a very skilled team. Do you have
Right.
people that are working as funds advisors, trust managers, and things like that?
Yeah. Yeah. Because these classes will actually be taught by people experts in
Okay.
those areas. All right. So we have wealth managers. We have people that are, you know, we're going to introduce them to different specialties as well. Car dealerships, as an example, is something that athletes tend to go into.
Mm.
Real estate, something that involves them and their name.
Yeah.
Okay,
Branding.
we'll try to focus them, but it could be something simple as video games.
Yeah. Yeah.
They want to work for Google or whatever.
Whatever
We'll
they
try
want.
to expose them to all those different opportunities, so they will meet in class. We talked about mentorship, right? They,
Yep.
everybody that's involved in those classes, because there'll be panels for each of those sections. So there'll be 3 or 4 people that they'll meet in each of those classes sessions. So I think there'll be ready-made mentors that they'll run into right then
Yep.
that will help them decide. And you may bring up a very strong point. Everybody is not geared to managing a business. Some
Mm.
people are going to be a spokesperson. You know what I mean? The
Yep.
businesses will want them. They won't have to really do a lot, right? Except show up. Other people, one of the students we might be getting, very wants to go into real estate. Okay, it doesn't have anything to do with sports, right? So I think a lot of them have some interest, and that's what we'll work with them on. If they want to do something in sports, there are plenty of jobs in sports. I taught sports marketing. There are plenty of jobs in sports
In those
that don't
sports, right?
involve you running up and down the field.
Yes. Yes.
Maybe you want to be an agent. We're partnering with a NLI with NIL people, so we have an NIL agent that teaches other people how to be agents. Maybe there'll be somebody in the classes with talent that way.
Yeah, it seems like that you're building a massive network of interconnected specialities, and I
Mhm.
start to think about I guess, the personality types, and I think about what it takes to be a pro sports person, or at least attempting to
Mhm.
be one, and discipline comes to mind. I guess that would
Yes.
make it very easy or easier to work with student
Mhm.
athletes. Would that be fair?
Yeah, you hit the nail exactly on the head, as I say. But yes, and that's what's bothered me all along. We've overlooked those talents that they have. Discipline, I always mention.
Mm.
Charisma,
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
Outgoing characters. Yep.
they've got a lot of that. Leadership abilities,
Mm.
quarterback or whatever. There's so many talents hidden in there that, like I said, don't involve throwing or kicking or running or anything like that, that we overlook. We're just looking at them as entertainment. And if they don't make it to the big time, nobody
Too
cares.
bad. Too
No,
bad. Well, not
nobody
until
cares.
now.
And so now, especially if we're working with parents or whatever, the parents may want to have a business too. It could be a family business,
Mm.
but at least if they have something to go back to, maybe they won't have to go back home and live with the parents.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? After
Yeah.
college, after college, they'll have a business. They'll have something to hold on to. If they do go back to their community, which we hope a lot of them do, just think we're sending people back that are trained, smart business people. That's going to help
Yes.
the entire community.
What a
And that's
vision.
that's something that hasn't been seemed to me thought of before. Like I said, they go home and then they're broke in 3 years.
Yeah, well, because I start to think, Denise, also, just I guess a little bit on the outlier of this is once they have established a business and there is revenue stream, is there like steps afoot within Project NILO to teach them about investing or reinvesting
Oh
money?
yes, definitely. Yeah, wealth management. We have some very highly skilled wealth management people in my group. So
Mm.
yes, they'll be learning about that. Because and that comes to who you put around you. It's very
Yep.
important to get the right advice on
How
that.
long's a program like this run for, Denise?
Well, we're looking at it being like a year to 18 months. Okay. So part of that is the work study part. So it just
Mm.
depends on what they do in work study. But so we're aiming at kids that are freshmen, between freshmen and juniors. So that we'll have to, the seniors, we won't have a lot of time with them. Though we may try some out in this first go round, just to see, So maybe we're misjudging that, what you can cram into them at the last moment. But we perfectly, ideally, we'd like to get them when they're freshmen or sophomores,
Mm.
because and they have a lot of time to work with it, and then lo and behold, they might have a business that'll help them through the rest of school, or
Yes, wow.
help them pay back their parents or whatever.
Whatever they need to do to stay afloat, as it were, in this big, wide, wonderful world of ours. Now, Denise, I know that
Exactly.
we've touched, I guess, peripherally on, I guess, the team that you're working with. I'm wondering if you can bring some names to the fore and just talk us through some of the things that they do.
Okay, we have. Well, we have I mean, it's such a diverse group. Right now on the NILO,
There's lots of them too.
World's Best Connectors is huge. You might have, not huge, but we have like 50 or so people now.
Mm.
Uh, but we have about 20 on this particular project, Project NILO. So, and it's nationwide. So we're a nationwide company. So, like, we have a HR person expert who lives in Washington.
Mm.
I'm sorry, in Atlanta. We have wealth management people. I have a person that's an MBA coach, a certified MBA coach, not the physical kind of coach. He's
Yes, yes,
certified by the MBA
yes,
to
yes,
work to work with athletes. Okay, and on their issues, so to speak.
yes.
He's helping with the curriculum. We have a couple that live in California who do training. We're going to have them working with the parents. They have raised student athletes themselves.
So
Okay,
they know.
and so they know the gist. Okay, they
Yeah,
know
yeah.
some of the pearls. So we have a couple out there. I have a young man who's super good at sales. I guess I would say he's a branding. We call him our branding accelerator. Okay, so he he used to play ball. Okay, so
Yep,
he's
yep.
young enough to relate. He used to play for Nebraska. Okay, and he used to actually play ball. So he's so relatable for the kids, right? And so he's out there scouting
Scouting
for
the
us as
field.
kids. And then we have a guy who has his own business and no backboard basketball, which is a very interesting new sport coming up. But he's also very good at uh, the whole we are going to have a lot of new technology, I should mention. We have the
Mm.
part with the classes going, but then we also have a part called NILO Media Network. And so that's the tech part of what we're doing. And
Oh,
so we
yes.
have a television, we have an OTT television network that'll have nonstop 24/7 showings related to NIL related issues. So interviews with students, interviews with universities, what kind of programs they have, NIL agents talking about what to look out for. So we'll have a broader type of education that'll be for the public.
For the public.
But we'll be featuring these kids. Here's their opportunity, you know what I mean, to demonstrate some of the things they do and how they've succeeded in life, et cetera, et cetera. So I know it sounds massive vision,
No.
but it's
Well, it's a massive vision.
but I have a lot of really good people. We need more. We can always use some more people, some more talent
You know,
involved.
there's also something that we need to talk about that, greases the wheel of industry and makes these missions actually work. I mean, having a dream, having a vision is one thing, but getting funding for all this and the right people must be important for you as well. How do you
Yeah.
go about that side of things?
Yes, we're right in the midst of doing that now, really getting the word out to people. So
Mm.
fundraising, the NILO uh, Project NILO part is nonprofit. So we're looking for obviously donations and stuff related to that, and people can go on our website www.projectnilo.org NILO.com, NILO. And I should mention what that means, name, image, and likeness, but we add ownership to that.
Oh,
So
that's wonderful.
it's NILO. But they can go online and donate to that. We're going to have we're going to do some crowdfunding. We're going to try every new technique there is out there. So people, if they sign up just to be on a list, they'll be aware of those types of things going on. But then on the for business, the for-profit side is the tech stuff we're talking about, whether it's
Hmm.
streaming television. We have a spectacular app that's state of the art with Action Era, a company called Action Era, in
Hmm.
which people can, businesses, businesses uh, like athletes, they want to reach out to athletes. They can have
Yep.
commercials on our television and our television station. Actually, we see that is really being it's attracting a lot of attention,
I
that
can
part of it.
imagine.
So, and to me, it's exciting because believe it or not, we have some non-athlete kids involved as well.
They want to do it.
Kids,
Wow.
kids that want to be, they're going to be doing the social media. They're going to be
Yes,
doing
yes.
videotaping. We have a recent graduate, a couple of recent graduates that are formed together a little company. And so they're going to help with the videotaping of the kids in the classes and all of those types of things. So
That's
we
exciting.
do have some opening for kids that aren't running up and down the field, but have an interest in sports, want to be sports reporters. Luckily, we have the Cronkite School here
Yep.
at
Yep.
Arizona State University. So they're very excited about this program from the whole sports broadcasting end of
Yes, because
it.
I know that you're talking with a few universities and the likes, which you'd obviously have
Yes.
to be networking with. Tell us about
Oh,
that side of it.
yeah, and it's fun. We'll be doing because of I tell people use your contacts that you have.
Of
So
course.
um, Nebraska, of course, comes up. So we had Lawrence McIntosh is going to be working with them, and then we have myself and Cornell still very
Hmm.
tightly aligned.
Yep.
So we'll be working with them. ASU has been a major sponsor of World's Best Connectors, so they're in it as well. So originally I thought about going school by school, but now it's going to be open to kids at any school because it's virtual, right? Most of
Yep.
it.
Yep.
So we're going to go after kids. Like I said, it always comes back to me refocusing on the kids.
Absolutely.
We'll find the kids and then we'll get their school.
Yeah, because I can see one thing in you, Denise, is when you talk about this and looking after our future, because that's what they are. They're the up and coming generations that we need to prepare for success, that you light up. How does it make you feel, even when you're getting those small wins?
Yes, each win is a big win. I enjoy teaching,
Mm, mm.
obviously, and we had uh, but this is bigger than that. As teaching, you have them for a few weeks
Yeah.
at best, right? And you can make an impression. I've had, students write me letters, you're the best professor I ever had, and blah, blah, blah. And, I got this job, and blah, 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 blah. And so that's rewarding. But this, to me, because the impact you can have one on so many more kids, but also the impact on the parents and impact on the community takes it to a whole nother level. So
Yes.
that's why I'm excited about it.
Yeah,
So
look, and I've looked over your website, the Project NILO website. What are people going to find there?
um, they're gonna see why, a little bit of the why, why we're doing this.
Hmm.
Um, we're gonna be posting information on different events. We had an event sponsored by Melina Jewelers, which is huge uh, jewel outlet here in town. That was wonderful because a lot of people have heard of yeah, people have heard of Molinas. Everybody knows about Molinas, and they were just like, oh, that they're sponsoring this, They were just, and the jewelry was just shining at them, right? So I think we're going to be attracting all kinds of sponsors, okay? Because one, people understand what we're trying to do here. So you can have people that are interested in their community. You can have people that are interested in finding students. We're also, WBC is going to have an annual conference here at the end of the year in October on helping corporations attract and retain Zoomers. Okay, which is
Zoomers.
the newer generation now is Zoomers, right?
Okay.
So, so, so there's there's corporations are going to be interested in what we're doing because
Yes.
they're looking for students. They're having a hard time getting students. They're having a hard time getting new people coming out, and they it's it's exciting for me, but I think it's exciting for everybody right now. So
No,
people
look,
are for it.
I'm animated by what you're doing. I'm excited for you. I know that there's a lot of business owners that have been a part of the show, and certainly a lot of them stay connected to the My Future Business Show. And it's quite a relevant title given the title that we're talking about. So if anybody's on today's call, you've either listened to the show or you are a business owner, you want to get involved with this, I certainly would encourage you to do that. Either reach out to me and I can connect you with Denise, or go to Denise's websites. Now, Denise, if anybody wants to connect with you to make a start, make a contribution, and anything else, how are they going to
Yeah.
find you?
They can email me directly at Denise M. So DENISEM as in Mary. In this case, at Meridith, but Denise M at THEWBCS.com. So it's Denise M at the WBCs.com. I'm a Comic-Con fan, so
I love it. Absolutely
so,
love it.
so I like the WBCs sounded really good to me. So
Well,
that's
there
what
you go, everybody. This has been one of those wonderful calls where we've just lifted the lid on the potential future for Project NILO, and I wish it all the best. Now, again, that domain name will be available below this post. Doesn't matter where you see it, you're going to get links back to Project NILO,
yeah.
be it via the My Future Business post or elsewhere. You'll be able to find Denise and a wonderful team. And with all that being said, Denise, what a wonderful call. Thank you so very much.
Well, thank you. We really enjoyed talking to you.